Before you spend that ordinary-looking quarter in your pocket, stop for just a moment and look at the date. CSN, that small detail, could be the difference between a coin worth only face value and a collectible that attracts serious attention from coin hunters. Welcome back to Hardest Penny, where we uncover the history, varieties, errors, and potential value hidden inside everyday American coins. Today, we are taking a close look at the 1994 D Washington quarter, a coin that millions of people have handled without ever realizing what makes certain examples more interesting to collectors. But here's the important question. Is your 1994 D quarter just a common 25-cent coin? Or could it have a feature that makes it stand out from the rest? Stay with me, because we are going to examine this coin from its history and production to its condition, mint mark, errors, varieties, and the factors that can make a seemingly ordinary quarter much more desirable. 1994 D Washington Quarter. The 1994 D Washington Quarter was produced at the Denver Mint and carries the small D mint mark on the obverse, positioned below Washington's neck. The coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, facing left. Around him are the inscriptions United States of America, Liberty, and I in God We Trust, while the date 1994 appears below the portrait. On the reverse, you'll find the traditional eagle design that appeared on Washington quarters for decades, along with the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, $quarter, and the denomination. At first glance, there is nothing mysterious about the 1994 D quarter. It was part of the regular Washington quarter series, and examples from this year are generally not rare simply because of their date. That is an important point for every coin collector to understand. A coin being several decades old does not automatically make it rare. The real excitement begins when you discover an unusual minting characteristic, an exceptional condition, or a legitimate variety that separates one example from millions of ordinary pieces. The 1994 D quarter belongs to the copper-nickel-clad era of Washington quarters. Unlike the earlier silver quarters produced before 1965, a normal 1994 D quarter is not made of silver. It has a copper core surrounded by layers of copper-nickel alloy. That means you should not assume that every older-looking Washington quarter contains valuable silver. The date is one of the first things you should check, and 1994 is firmly within the clad period. So why should collectors still pay attention to this coin? Because condition matters enormously. Imagine two 1994 D quarters sitting next to each other. One has been circulating for years. Its surfaces are scratched, the high points of Washington's portrait are worn, the lettering may look dull, and the original mint luster is mostly gone. The other coin has sharp details, bright original surfaces, minimal marks, and an appearance that suggests it spent most of its life protected from circulation. Even though both coins have exactly the same date and mint mark, they can have very different collector appeal. This is where coin grading becomes extremely important. Collectors commonly describe circulated coins using grades such as good, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated. Uncirculated coins are generally described within the mint state grading scale, where numerical grades can range from MS60 upward. Higher grade coins become increasingly difficult to find because modern quarters were often placed directly into circulation, where they quickly picked up scratches, contact marks, and other imperfections. For 1994 D Washington quarter, collectors should carefully inspect the surfaces under good lighting. Look at Washington's cheek, jaw, hair, and the open fields around the portrait. These areas can reveal contact marks and abrasions. On the reverse, inspect the eagle, lettering, and open fields. Original luster can also be an important indicator when evaluating an uncirculated example. But condition is only part of the story. Another major factor is the possibility of a genuine mint error. This is where your ordinary quarter can become much more interesting. During the coin production process, enormous quantities of coins are struck at high speed. Although the United States Mint uses sophisticated machinery and quality control systems, mistakes can occasionally occur. Genuine mint errors can include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, struck through errors, die-related problems, and other unusual characteristics. However, there is a huge difference between a genuine mint error and damage that happened after the coin left the mint. For example, if a quarter has a strange-looking edge because somebody squeezed it with a tool, that is not a valuable mint error. If the surface has been scratched, drilled, bent, heated, chemically altered, or exposed to harsh conditions, those changes generally do not make the coin rare. In fact, post-mint damage can reduce its value. That is why authentication is so important. If your 1994 quarter appears dramatically different from a normal example, do not immediately assume you have discovered fortune. Compare it with photographs of normal 1994 quarters. Examine the shape and metal carefully, and consider getting an opinion from an experienced numismatist or professional grading service if the coin appears genuinely unusual. One of the most exciting possibilities for collectors is an off-center strike. This happens when a planchet is not properly positioned between the dies when the coin is struck. The resulting coin can show part of the design missing from one side, with a noticeable blank area. The more dramatic and clearly authentic the error, the more collector interest it can generate. Another possibility is a clipped planchet. A clipped planchet occurs before striking when part of the metal blank is missing or improperly cut. Depending on the type and appearance of the clip, a genuine example can attract collectors who specialize in mint errors. There are also die varieties and die-related anomalies that collectors watch for. These can be subtle and may require magnification and comparison with known examples. A small mark on a coin does not automatically qualify as a valuable variety. This is one of the biggest mistakes new collectors make. They see a line, bump, doubling, or unusual shape and immediately believe they have found an extremely rare coin. Real collectible varieties and errors require careful identification. That brings us to another important topic, double dies. A true double die variety occurs during the die-making process, creating noticeable doubling in portions of the design. It is fundamentally different from mechanical doubling, which can appear as a flat, shelf-like secondary impression caused during the striking process. Mechanical doubling generally does not carry the same premium as a recognized double die variety. If you believe your 1994 quarter has doubling, examine the lettering and numbers under magnification. Look for clear separation and consistent design characteristics, rather than simply a blurry edge. A genuine variety should be studied carefully before assigning it a value. Now let's talk about value. A normal circulated 1994 Washington quarter is generally not $1 million coin, and viewers should be cautious about sensational claims that every example of this date is worth thousands or millions. The realistic value of an ordinary circulated example is usually close to its face value, with premiums depending on condition and collector demand. Uncirculated examples can be more desirable, especially when they possess strong eye appeal and high-grade characteristics. The truly interesting money appears when a coin has an unusual combination of rarity, condition, and demand. For example, a certified high-grade coin with exceptional preservation can attract collectors competing for top-quality examples. A legitimate mint error can create an entirely different market because collectors of error coins are searching for specific production mistakes. And if a coin represents a rare and recognized variety, its value may be significantly different from that of an ordinary example. This is why you should never judge your 1994 quarter by the date alone. Look at the mint mark. Look at the surfaces. Look at the strike. Look at the edge. Look for unusual characteristics. And most importantly, compare your coin with verified examples. The edge deserves special attention because clad coins can reveal their construction along the rim. A normal 1994 quarter should show the familiar copper-colored core between the outer layers when viewed from the edge. If the edge looks dramatically different, do not automatically assume it is rare. The appearance could result from damage, environmental exposure, or another explanation. But an unusual edge combined with other evidence may deserve further investigation. Another important factor is cleaning. Many people think cleaning an old coin will make it more valuable because it makes the coin look brighter. In reality, Harsh cleaning can leave scratches and unnatural surfaces that collectors dislike. If you believe you have a potentially valuable 1994 quarter, resist the temptation to polish it. Leave the coin in its original condition and handle it carefully by the edges. Storage also matters. If you discover a promising example, place it in an appropriate coin holder or protective flip designed for numismatic storage. Avoid touching the surfaces unnecessarily, because fingerprints can leave oils that may affect the appearance over time. And remember, value is ultimately determined by the market. Auction results, certified grades, rarity, eye appeal, and collector demand can all influence what someone is willing to pay. A price shown online is not automatically the amount your coin is worth. The most reliable comparisons come from actual sales of coins that match your example and date, mint mark, grade, variety, and error type. So, if you have a 1994 Washington quarter in your collection right now, what should you do? First, confirm the date. Second, find the D mint mark below Washington's neck. Third, check whether the coin is circulated or uncirculated. Fourth, inspect the portrait in reverse for unusual doubling, die characteristics, or other anomalies. Fifth, examine the edge carefully. And sixth, if you believe you have a genuine mint error or exceptionally high-grade example, consider professional authentication before making any major claims about its value. The greatest lesson from a 1994 Washington quarter is that coin collecting is not simply about finding an old date. It is about learning how coins were made, understanding the difference between rarity and age, recognizing legitimate errors and varieties, and knowing how condition affects desirability. Millions of 1994 quarters were made, and most examples you encounter will be ordinary pocket change. But that does not mean you should ignore them. Coin collecting rewards careful observation. Sometimes the most interesting discoveries begin with a coin that looks completely normal. So the next time you receive a Washington quarter as change, don't spend it automatically. Turn it over. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Examine the details. And if you find something that doesn't look right, take a closer look before you put that quarter back into circulation. This is Hardest Penny, and our mission is to help you look at everyday coins with a collector's eye. The 1994 Washington quarter may not be a guaranteed fortune, but a high-grade example, a recognized variety, or a genuine mint error could make the coin far more interesting than its 25-cent face value suggests. And that is exactly why your pocket change deserves a second look. The next valuable discovery might not be hiding in a museum or an auction house. It could be sitting quietly in your change jar, waiting for someone who knows what to look for.